All right. So why don't we start with number 4 and we'll work our way up and then we'll hit this one at the end. So from what you guys may have read in the Attorney's Networking Handbook or from this class, there's 3 different types of networkers. All right. What are those types of networkers? So we know one, it's called the apparent giver. What's the definition of an apparent giver, Chris?
It's a person who sort of doesn't really give.
Okay, doesn't really give back?
Doesn't really give back.
Okay, so the name...
Are they giving back? It's just not very good leads.
Okay, so they're appearing to be a giver, they're appearing to be a good networker, but at the end of the day, it's really not very valuable to the other person that they're networking with. Right. Okay, so we have that type of networker, and there's some things we'll talk about how to get around that. All right, and then what's another type of networker you guys may have experienced? This is exactly what you just said. Someone that is selling you something, right? Someone who's networking just to get, just to take. And then what's the third type of networker you may or may run into? The true giver. All right. So as you're out there networking, attending events, meeting with people, having coffees with people you've known maybe your whole life, right? They're going to fall into one of these 3 categories, okay? And it's possible that takers are people that are just there to sell you something. It also might be that they don't have the networking acumen to know how to be a giver. It's not something they've ever been taught or that they've ever really tried. They think pushing cards and selling deals is what networking is all about. And we all know that that's a small part of it. That's, obviously you're there for a reason to get business. However, that's not something that should happen and take place at the actual event or even in a coffee, right? Networking is about how we give and how we receive and how we find mutual benefit in working with one another, okay? So the idea is if you run into a taker, is it malicious? Are they doing it because they don't care about you and they just want to run you over like a steam train? And that's it? Or are they taking because they just don't understand how to do the other part of giving? In which case you may want to step in and try to coach them and help them to understand, that there's 2 sides to this, okay? But in most cases, you're going to find with takers that you're just going to want to stay away, right? Because that's something they may have done for many, many years, okay? They're just going out trying to sell. That's not what we're trying to deal with, right? So then we've got the true giver. And what are the signs of a true giver? What are some of the things that you might find that they're doing? Well, Len, what do you think? You ever work with a true giver and network with someone who just...
I think they do what they say they're going to do.
So they commit to things and then they follow through, definitely. What else?
Quality of what they're giving is high.
The quality might be higher if, again, they have the ability to provide that. Some people do, some people don't, okay? So they're committing, they've got quality, right? They're thinking about you, right? They realize by helping you, they're actually helping themselves and they're helping a third party. Okay, so our goal in this group is to become an apparent, or to be a real giver, not an apparent giver. And part of that involves having a really strong network. The reality is that you don't have a lot to give. So part of networking is to get out there and try to develop new strategic partners and find business. The other is to help build your network. And so as you meet more estate planners, as you meet more financial planners, CPAs, consultants, etc., that may be where you're able to step in and actually get some movement on that, okay? And then the apparent giver is someone who is saying all the right things, but at the end of the day, they're either not following through or they're not providing any real quality, okay? And so again, like with the taker, I'm gonna suggest you either work to help an apparent giver be a real giver because maybe they just don't know how, or you've gotta drop them. You've gotta move on because realistically, it's just not gonna play out.